Hello, this is Ken Wilber, and I'd like to talk briefly about how I see the integral movement in Europe and the Integral European Conference in particular. America is a very young nation where some European countries go back thousands of years. America is barely over 300 years old. In many ways, particularly cultural, we are still adolescent. Tests consistently show an ignorance of other countries that is just embarrassing. Ah, America. But Europe. Europe is a different story. It's been around almost from the beginning of humankind's history on this planet. Spiritually speaking, India and China, particularly India, was to become something of a mothership of profound spiritual realization and various schools or paths to it. And it remains so to this day in some ways, with important additions from countries such as Tibet. But there's also evidence that many of the most sophisticated and profound forms of spirituality were carried into India by invading tribes from Europe several millennia BCE. It definitely appears that somewhere from the deepest heart of Europe, some of humankind's profoundest and original spiritual aspirations and realizations began to emerge and evolve. And Europe has that atmosphere, that background that is still with it today, drenching it with depth. The deep yearning for unity would periodically break out in specific manifest forms in various ways in Europe throughout the ages. This depth of oneness, hidden under the surface of the face of manyness, hangs in the air you breathe in Europe. It runs in the veins of virtually every European. It speaks the depths of the yearning of the human heart, the heights of the human mind, the inclusiveness of the human community. This depth is everywhere you go in Europe. It is the neatest, cleanest, damn continent on the face of the planet. Europe has cultural memories of entire civilizations at all the earlier stages lying in its background. A surefire, sturdy foundation upon which integral can emerge. Perhaps the one thing that America can truly be proud of. Virtually every other country or nation on the planet was founded along racial and ethnic lines, with particularly similar tribes banding together to eventually form what would be a nation. But from the start, America was born based on a universal philosophical principle, not an ethnic or racial or tribal lineage. As Abraham Lincoln pointed out, America was, quote, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Dedicated to the proposition. The first time anywhere in history an extremely varied group of tribes from all over the world came together, united by an idea, not just a race. Based on ideas and principles created mainly in Europe, America began the great experiment of the creation of something resembling the beginning of a world culture. In many ways, it succeeded wonderfully. In others, the sheer span of its reach seem to limit its depth, leaving it with a love of surfaces, an Andy Warhol version of a country, all surface, no depth, and thus that's so American. But we are now seeing, in America and Europe especially, the emergence of a strong pluralistic stage, and hence already approximately 4% in America and 5% in Europe, the emergence of the next higher integral stage into conventional everyday awareness.